Hi and welcome to Dash. This is notebook scrapbooking, an idea that I came up with back in January of 2022 when I was trying to make this little tiny notebook by Mochi Things work. It didn't work for me because while it had a nice heavy cover, the pages were too thin. There's only one design. The boxes are too small, way too many pages. I'll never finish this book. And so I created my own. So it's taken me a little over a year, but it's here. I decided to go with a very thin weight cover and instead put that weight into the pages. So the pages are a cardstock weight. You're not going to get any bleeding. You're not going to get any ghosting. You can use whatever ink you want. The only color that's the exception is red. Red ink makes me really nervous because it tends to bleed through even cardstock. I think I did use the red in the classes that'll show you a lot of these designs, and you will see that there is a tiny bit of ghosting. But other than that, any dye ink works. Archival ink, VersaFine ink works. Now there are 6 designs so that you don't get bored, and they are intermixed. It's not like the 6 designs repeatedly throughout the notebook. They are mixed up. And so there is no rhyme or reason for when this grid will show up. There are 8 of these grids. I can tell you right now, 7 of the circles. This is our horizontal design. There are 4 of these. There are 7 3-box, and there are 7 graph papers, 7 of the grid graph. And so a lot of variety, which is what I wanted. I wanted the book to look not to get bored of the design, which happens to me all the time. If I only had 3 or 4 designs, I'd get bored of this really quick, especially if it was the same 4 designs over and over again. Now, as you can see, the rings are small. I do not like rings. I'm not a fan of rings. I want the attention to stay on my photos and story and not have these huge rings in the center. That's just a style preference. And so that also meant there are less pages. The other reason for the less pages in the notebook, there are only 25, but 50 layouts, is because 50 layouts is doable. So if you have a book with 100 pages, you're going to end up with a lot of half or quarter way done notebooks. And there is such a sense of satisfaction to flipping through an album that you can actually finish. I think I have 5 more pages to go in this one. I will do a final flip through at the end of class, and you'll be able to see that it holds up. So here it is, almost all done. You can see the edge there. I have 5 pages. Yep, 5 pages at the end to go. And I am really excited to share this process with you. So Dash is not only just a notebook, it's also a system. And so I have the steps here. We're going to go through them in the classes. You're going to see this step repeated over and over again. So how do you get a lot of pages done quickly but well designed, and use your stash and use your stamps? And so these are the 5 steps. We choose our photos first. We pick a design in the notebook. Create a palette. I'll show you how to create a small mini palette, and you break out your stamps. Now, if you don't have stamps, every time you see stamping, you can use your stickers. Use your alphabet stickers, use stickers that came in all of your kits, use die cuts, use different things. Don't let the stamping or your lack of stamps trip you up. You just replace them with anything that you happen to have in your stash. I have a lot of stamps. It's something that I'm known for. If you look at my Instagram reel, you'll see it over and over again. And that's why you see it quite a bit in the Dash classes. All right, so these are the steps and the notebook, and also the measurement guide. So the measurement guide, don't forget to print this out. This will really help you out because it gives you the measurement at every single spot, and then you can see all of the designs, all 6 designs really clearly, and make decisions. And you can size your photos or cut them down, and you don't need to have your notebook handy. If you just have your measurement guide, you'll know exactly how much space you have for every single little box. Now this one printed out a little bit on the light side. Yours should print out a little bit darker. All right, so you have everything you need to create in a dash. I hope you have a great time, and I hope to see you in the Facebook group, because that is where I will continue to create more pages, maybe share tips, and create a community of paper craft lovers, not just around Dash, but around all the projects that I do. I do 6x8 and I do travelers notebooks, and I'll be sharing those pages there too. Those classes are to come in the future. All right, now let's talk about one of my favorite things. Let's talk about printers. The supply that I think is key to all of my pages is my printer. This is my Epson XP970. I love Epson printers. I've been using them for years, and I got this model about 3 years ago, and it's still going strong. I love the crisp images that it gives me, and it's pretty easy to use once you learn a little bit about the color management. No, I can't give you specific tips on your own printer. There are thousands of printers on the market. There's no way I could do that. But if you do a search on YouTube videos for your specific model, look for color management and see if you can find some of these same steps that I'm going to go through that fits your specific model of printer. When I start printing, I look under the color management menu and specifically at color handling. So I'm looking for Photoshop to manage those colors instead of my printer. So I'm going to check off Photoshop manages color. Just under color handling, you can click on printer profile and you're going to get this menu of different paper types. Make sure you're choosing the paper that you have loaded in your printer. For me, it will always be the Epson XP970 Premium Semi-Gloss since it's the only paper that I use. Now, if you look about 9 profiles down, you'll see Epson sRGB. That's the one I like for the PM400. It works really well. Once you have that set, you want to go up to the top and click on Print Settings, then Printer Options. Under Print Options, you'll see Print Settings again. Once you click on that, you will get this menu and it'll give you a paper source. For me, it's the rear feed. For you, it might be the cassette. And then the paper finish. Again, we're going to choose the semi-gloss and the quality you want, high or best. The other printer that I use is the Epson PictureMate PM400. I love this little printer, especially since it's so small. The PM970 is huge, so just pay attention to the dimensions if you're going to go for something like that. And I love this little PictureMate because it's so compact. These days, I mostly use it for my journaling, but every once in a while, I still print out pictures from here, and they come out clear and they're beautiful and perfect for notebook scrapbooking. Interestingly enough, though, both printers, the large printer and this little one, are the same price point. They're $250. If I could only buy one, I would definitely buy the 970 because the quality of the prints is just so much better. All right, I hope you found this portion of the video helpful in printing. Like I said, there's no way I could go over the thousands of printers that are on the market, but definitely do a lookup and make sure you're using the right color management profile and paper. It makes a really big difference. All right, so now let's talk photo paper. So I think what you print on is really important to get good prints. So do use the Epson brand. I don't try to do off-label or off-brand or anything like that. I haven't found anything as good as this paper. I get this on Amazon. It comes out to be about 55 cents a sheet, which is pretty good considering I can get a lot of prints on one sheet. The most important part, though, aside from that it's Epson and ultra premium, is the finish. So this is a luster finish. So somewhere in between glossy, which I just don't prefer because of the fingerprints, because we touch our picture so much when we're creating, or at least I do. All the fingerprints, I don't like it. I don't like the glare either, but I do like the crisp images of a glossy paper. I've tried a matte paper in the past. It didn't give me the crisp images that I'm looking for, so I don't do matte. Luster is right, that sweet spot right in the middle. So I don't have that high gloss. I don't have the fingerprints, but these prints are pretty crisp. I'll bring them up so you can see. And I don't do anything special other than what you saw in the printing video. Just get the color management to the right paper, and that's about it. I also do use Epson ink, actual Epson ink, and not an off-brand either, and I do think that makes somewhat of a difference. Now, what you see here is paper saving. So when I go to print, I use Photoshop, and I will size my prints, and then I will open up an 8.5 by 11 canvas in Photoshop, and I will put everything I need to print in one spot. And so now I'll just trim right here, and then I'll feed this piece of paper through my printer. I do have a back feed option, so don't worry about it being a smaller size that doesn't fit in the tray or the cartridge. I think that's a really important feature for a printer. You may or may not have that. If you want to upgrade your printer or you're looking for a new printer, you may want to keep an eye out on that feature. It will save you on photo paper. Now you could also just take this piece and try to put it through your cartridge. I've done it before in other models that I've had, and I've learned how to make it work and not jam all the time, but it's easier when you have that back feed option. Now, what do I do with the pieces that are left over? Sometimes I have pieces like this, and these I will use in the PM400. So I will just feed this through the back of my PM400, and I'll get a couple more prints out of something that's really small. I could also attach this to a piece of copy paper and also feed it through my large printer, but I definitely use the exact same paper for both printers. I will either cut it down to use in the PM400, but usually I have some remnants left over like this when I'm finished printing out. Sometimes this sheet will come all the way down to here, and I have this funny little strip, and I will save that scrap. I save every scrap, and I will use it in my PM400. All right, so that's it for photo paper. Now let's move along to the label paper. Okay, now this is how I do all of my journaling, is on transparent clear label paper. I love this brand. This is Mako. I found this works really well in the Epson printers. The most important part is to make sure you have full sheet labels. Okay, so you don't want a bunch of little labels. You want the entire sheet to be a label, and I'll show you. You get this, and this is a full sheet label. Okay. And the second part is that it is a matte finish and not a glossy finish. I've tried glossy finishes. I haven't had good luck with them. They smear all over the place. It makes me crazy. Mako is about $25 for this box, which is a really good deal, especially if you compare it to the Avery labels. Avery also makes a full sheet clear label sticker paper, but it's really expensive. So Mako goes in and out of stock at Amazon, so just keep your eye on it. Hopefully they'll keep making it so you don't have to go to that crazy expensive Avery stuff. But I use this all the time. Same concept as the photos. I try to do all of my journaling in one spot. I will trim this, and then I'll have the rest of this sheet to feed through the back of my printer. So I just wanted to show you one other example. I also use my PM400. So sometimes I will cut this label sheet in half, and I will feed this entire thing through the PM400, right? So this went in through this way. The PM400 is only paying attention to the width. So the maximum width you could do is 5 inches this way, but the length doesn't matter. It will feed the entire thing through, right? So now that I've done this, I will cut it off here, and then I will continue to feed it, and I'll get pretty far down this sheet, and I will use probably 99% of that paper. So that will save you money in this clear label paper. Okay, next let's talk about stamps and inks. Now I have a really large collection of stamps. The ones that I reach for over and over for are hands down Carrie Bradford. The quality of these is so high. It's very rare that a stamp company can make a stamp with something this tiny and that actually stamps out nice and crisp and that tiny and clear. And I am by no means a stamping expert. You're going to see me rock my stamp platform or my stamp blog back and forth. You're not really supposed to do that. That's a quirk. That's how I stamp. I know, I know, I know. It's supposed to be just down and up, but it's just not my way. I have found my own quirks and my own ways to make stamping work, and that's one for me. So I say stamp however you'd like and do whatever works for you. One of the things that works for me is Daphne Carey Bradford stamps. Can't recommend them highly enough. There is definitely a difference in acrylic and photopolymer. We know that these are all acrylic, but there are also different grades of acrylic. There's high quality acrylic and there's lower quality acrylic, and I definitely have some of both in my collection. This is definitely on the high side. Paper Person Shop also, you can count on really crisp images. All right, next in my stash and my favorites, and these are all pretty much the same. This is Heidi Swapp Studio Calico. Ali Edwards too, I just didn't pull one out. Now all of these are the same quality. They're all about the same quality because they're all made by Inked Brands. Inked Brands works with Ali Edwards and Studio Calico and Heidi Swapp. They're all using the same manufacturers. So if you've seen the quality in one, you've probably seen the quality in all of them. And it's decent and it works. And I love all the different icons that they come up with. I love this firework stamp. So one of my favorite. Heidi Swapp is really good at all the little phrases. And I really do love her style. Studio Calico as well. I love a lot of their icons. I love a lot of their designers. They use a lot of different designers, so it's very hit or miss. But I love this book stamp. This is one that I need to actually put to use. All right, and then the third one is a newer company to me. This is Syncopation Design, and I bought these two sets myself, and they're in my collection. I love the pizza. I have a nephew who eats almost nothing but pizza. I kid you not. And we make a lot of pizza at home. So this one's really, really useful for me. And reading, always useful. I found them to be also as high quality as Carrie Bradford. They stamp really, really nicely. Let me see. I did stamp the back. So this is what I'm looking for, that all the lines are nice and even and that all the little details stamp out perfectly. And you can really tell in the lines above fresh and tasty. This pizza box too. If the acrylic is lower quality, it won't stamp as clean. And it's not you. And it's not your technique because you saw my technique, right? It's not even correct. It's the stamp quality. So this is another one that I highly recommend. All right, let's talk about ink. And I'll take out my number one ink. VersaFine. I have tried every black ink, I think, on the market. I use VersaFine and Archival for glossy things. This is the blackest ink, and this one is going to give you the most crisp images. I've tested them all. I think I've tried Old New, Pink Fresh. I've tried, gosh, I can't even think of all of them. All the Hero Arts one, everything that Michaels and Hobby Lobby sells. And really, honestly, nothing. Memento, I've tried. Nothing is as black or as crisp or as fine as this. The other one is Alt New, specifically this color, Silverstone. Well, I like Alt New. I have a ton of Alt New, and I hope I'm saying that right. But this one is particular because I color matched the book to it. So this nice warm gray is this exact color. It's Silverstone by Alt New if you want to match it perfectly. I use this one all the time for that contrast that I'm looking for with the black, right? So it's almost like a shadowing or a ghost. It's just a really pretty, beautiful gray. And then my 3 favorite dye inks are Alt New, Gina K, and Pink Fresh. Those are the 3 that I have invested the most of my own money into. None of these were given to me. None of them were part of design teams. They're not sponsored in any way. I have a ton of all 3 of these, and it's usually for color because the quality is very similar. I would say in quality, Alt New and Gina K are on par, and then second would be Pink Fresh. I do a lot of cubes because I would rather have more colors than full stamp pads. And there's pluses and minuses to that. You'll see that in one of the videos, and I will show you in real time why sometimes a full-size ink pad is better. But when it came to make time to make an investment in ink dye pads, I went for the cubes because I could probably buy 2, sometimes if I caught a good sale, 3 to 1 of these. And I have about 100 colors. You do not need 100 colors. One day I'll do a video on which are probably like my top 25 most used colors. That would probably be really useful. I did not need to buy all 100. What you're looking for is a crisp, something that stamps crisp, and something that is beautiful color, and something that is not splotchy. And so these are the 3 that have worked out the best for me. All right, now let's move on to fonts. All right, let's talk about different fonts. I use 2 main fonts in this notebook. One is Typewriter Condensed, that's these 2, and the other one is Remington Typewriter Pro, and that's these 3. I made this cheat sheet, and you can see the differences between the sizes and the spacing of the letters, and then the spacing of each individual line of text. So this one is Typewriter Condensed at the size of 10. The actual letters are spaced 50 apart. I think it's pixels, 50 something apart. I don't know the exact term. And they're 8.5 space in between the lines. And then that changes for each one. And I usually have this tucked in the back of my notebook, and sometimes I will pull it out. Sometimes if I have a lot of space but not a lot of words, I might use this. If I have a ton of words and not that much space, or I just want to fit a lot of story in, I will use this combination. That way I don't have to remember every single time. I just kind of pulled this out. I'm sure there's a way you can do a template or have something in Photoshop, but I'm super visual and I need it printed out this way. The only difference between the top and the bottom is I actually did it on the clear label paper to see how it looks differently. Sometimes it looks differently on a plain sheet of paper than it does on the label paper. The label paper just makes it a little bit darker. That's really the only difference. And that is it. Those are my favorite things. We got stamps and we have ink and a lot of fun things. I hope you found this lesson helpful and useful. If you have any more questions about these products, you can always find me on the Facebook group.